On May 27, 2015, Swiss police stormed a five-star hotel in Zurich at 6 in the morning. They dragged 7 of the most powerful men in football out in handcuffs. But what most fans never knew, the man who handed the FBI the keys to this entire case had been sitting inside FIFA's own executive committee the whole time. He'd been secretly wearing a wire. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why the two men at the very top of football's pyramid walked out of a courtroom completely free, while the man who turned on them died in disgrace. FIFA runs world football. It also runs on cash, over $1 billion a year, even back then. For 2 decades, one man controlled the money for football across North and Central America. His name was Chuck Blatter. Blatter ran CONCACAF, the confederation covering the US, Mexico, and the Caribbean. He kept 2 apartments in Trump Tower, one for himself, one for his cats. Let's just say his expense reports were creative. He earned a nickname inside football circles, Mr. 10%. That's roughly what he skimmed off almost everything that passed through his hands. But here's what the Federation never wanted you to know. Blatter wasn't acting alone. He had a partner at the very top. His name was Jack Warner, FIFA Vice President, CONCACAF President, for nearly 30 years, untouchable. Together, they ran something that looked like a football federation. It behaved more like a family business with diplomatic immunity. Here's a fact most fans never hear. Warner's own sons later admitted taking bribes tied to World Cup votes, money that was supposed to build pitches for kids in the Caribbean. For years, nobody touched them. Not FIFA, not the football world, nobody. Until 2 government agents knocked on the wrong door in New York. In 2011, the IRS finally caught up with Chuck Blatter. Not for bribery, for something simpler. He hadn't filed a tax return in years. Agents gave him a choice: cooperate or go to prison. He chose to become a spy inside his own organization. Most people remember 2015 as the year FIFA fell apart. Here's what actually happened. The collapse started 4 years earlier, and almost nobody outside one locked room in Brooklyn knew it. By the end of December 2011, Blatter was secretly working for the FBI. He carried a hidden recorder, disguised as a key fob, into meetings with fellow executives. During the 2012 London Olympics, Blatter invited football officials up to his hotel room and recorded every word. FIFA spent decades guarding its secrets. Turns out the biggest leak came from a hotel suite with room service still on the table. In November 2013, Blatter secretly pleaded guilty. 10 federal counts: racketeering, wire fraud, money laundering, tax evasion. He admitted under oath that he and other officials had taken bribes tied to the votes for the 1998 and 2010 World Cup hosts. The hearing happened inside a sealed Brooklyn courthouse. The public wouldn't learn about it for almost 2 more years. But here's what the Federation never wanted you to know. While Blatter was secretly confessing, the men he was recording kept running FIFA, kept taking bribes, kept acting untouchable. The clock was already ticking. They just couldn't hear it. May 27, 2015. 6 in the morning, Zurich. Plainclothes Swiss police walked into the hotel and asked for 7 specific room numbers. Inside, Jeffrey Webb, FIFA Vice President, Eduardo Lee, Julio Rocha, Costas Takas, Eugenio Figueiredo, Rafael Esquivel, Jose Maria Moran. They were in Zurich for one reason: to attend the FIFA Congress that would re-elect Sepp Blatter just 2 days later. Just when it seemed like business as usual, the doors opened. Hours later in New York, U.S. Attorney General Loretta Lynch stood at a podium beside the director of the FBI. She didn't soften it. She called the corruption rampant, systemic, and deep-rooted. 14 people indicted. A 47-count case, more than $150 million in bribes, stretching back over 2 decades. Fans found out from a breaking news alert before some federation officials heard it from their own delegations. That tells you exactly how this organization actually worked. But here's the part that changes everything. Sepp Blatter wasn't arrested. He wasn't even charged. 2 days later, delegates re-elected him anyway, a fifth term, as if nothing had happened. It lasted 4 days. On June 2nd, he stood in front of the cameras and announced he was stepping down. The man who'd run world football for 17 years was gone, and still hadn't been charged with a single crime. You'd think that was the end of it. It wasn't even close. 7 months later, in December 2015, Swiss police raided that exact same hotel again, arresting 2 more officials tied to bribery around the Copa America and World Cup qualifying matches. The case wasn't slowing down. It was just getting started. Here's the detail nobody saw coming. Months after Blatter resigned, investigators surfaced something he'd never explained, a payment with nothing to do with the American case at all. In September 2015, it emerged that FIFA had paid 2 million Swiss francs to Michel Platini, the man widely tipped to replace Blatter as president. The official explanation: consulting work, carried out between 1999 and 2002. There was just one problem. Nobody could produce a written contract for over a decade of work. The payment landed in 2011, the exact year Blatter was fighting off a Qatari challenger for re-election and needed European votes to win. Most people remember this scandal as bribery for World Cup votes. It was also about buying loyalty at the very top. In December 2015, FIFA's own ethics committee banned both Blatter and Platini from football for 8 years. 2 of the most powerful men the sport had ever produced, finished within 7 months of each other. But here's the twist almost nobody remembers. 7 years later, in 2022, a Swiss criminal court cleared both men of fraud. Not guilty. The football ban stood. The criminal case didn't. And the man who'd handed prosecutors the evidence to start it all, Chuck Blazer, never lived to see how it ended. He died in 2017, still banned for life, remembered as both the whistleblower and the crook who made the entire rotten system possible. Now you understand why the men at the top walked out of a courtroom clean, while the man who turned on them died in disgrace. The case never proved Blatter personally pocketed a bribe. It proved something arguably worse, that an entire system could rot for decades, and the man running it could survive almost every part of the fallout. FIFA didn't just lose 7 executives that morning in Zurich. It lost the last shred of the idea that football's biggest decisions were ever made on merit. But here's what's even more disturbing. That same day, Swiss prosecutors quietly opened a separate investigation into how Russia and Qatar actually won the rights to host the World Cup. That investigation went somewhere very different, and it's a story most fans still don't fully know.